If an Irish person ever invites you out for one drink, I just don't believe them. They're lying to you. Do I look rough? Because I came at like 2:30 this morning because my friend invited me out for one drink. And then 5 hours later, I had to extricate myself from the situation because they were still wanting to go. Like, don't you people, I'm getting older. I can't, I'm not about this life. Anyways, I am up. I have this short window of opportunity to record a video because my hubby took my dog out for a walk. And I don't know about anyone else, but I cannot record when my husband is around listening to me. It's just so, I don't know, cringe. I can't do it. What are we talking about today? All right. We did a poll, and the results of the poll are in for the classic leading man. I gave you my 4 suggestions, or my 3 suggestions. YouTube, it only allows you to put 4 choices in the poll. So I had Matthew McConaughey, Hugh Grant, Tate Diggs, then I put other, and you all voted. And the winner by a landslide is, drumroll please. Do you guys know the whole, like, the lore of UPN? It came out as a channel in America. And when it first launched, it had a lot of shows featuring Black families on there. I remember watching it. I don't know what I used to watch. I think maybe Family Matters was on there. Maybe that was on Channel 7. I'm confusing it. But they had a bunch of Black shows on there, or Black-led shows. And then it got really popular. The channel was popping. And then after they attained this level of success and viewership, they completely flipped the switch. They changed their programming entirely and started catering to these teen, like white-led teen shows, like the vampire type shows and the high school shows, that type of thing. And they never looked back. The Black shows were phased out completely, and they just ignored that audience and just pivoted and never looked back. And that's kind of how I feel about the winner of the poll for the classic rom-com lead, who was, all right, Matthew McConaughey. He won overwhelmingly. And I have to agree, when I think of rom-com male leads when I was growing up, I definitely think of Matthew McConaughey, like he tops the list. And I was looking at his IMDb. He wasn't even in that many. He wasn't a good, like the rom-coms that he was in, they were big ones. So How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, The Wedding Planner, what was that other one? Failure to Launch with Sarah Jessica Parker. So he was in some really big rom-coms that were released theatrically and did pretty well. And with his co-stars, they were big stars as well, like Jennifer Lopez and Sarah Jessica Parker and what have you. And I loved him in those movies. I thought he was so charming. He was kind of like effortlessly, like the effortless leading man. He felt very approachable, like someone you could encounter in real life, not necessarily the guy next door, but maybe a guy you might meet in like a high-end hotel bar or something at the mountain and you're going to ski or snowboard. The polo match. So these not relatable things. Or your airline lounge while you're waiting for the plane. Yeah, like you need agents there. But he also wasn't snobby. I think it comes down to the characters that he played. So in one, he was a doctor, and in the other one, he was like a marketing exec, and in the other one, he was like a stay-at-home son. And I think it was also a Fool's Gold, but I don't remember if that was a rom-com or more of like a rom-dram. It's been a long time since I watched that movie. He was also in that with Kate Hudson. But he felt his characters were always not like this super billionaire, characters. I'm not into that genre of like movie or books. I know some people love that. Like, oh, you fall in love with the gazillionaire and he loves you, like the 50 Shades of Grey series, you know, like that wish fulfillment fantasy thing. I'm not into that. I like the more down to earth characters where it's like, yeah, he's a doctor, but you know, anyone can get with a doctor. Like it's not unattainable. And his characters were always, I guess also the way he plays the characters, he imbued infused his southern laid back beach bum vibes into the character almost. Even if they were successful, it's just still very chill, and it was just effortless. He really, his characters, at least he plays, and I think has a part. His acting style plays a big role in it. But yeah, he's just always very fun and charismatic, and he let his leading ladies shine. He wasn't trying to steal all the shine. You know, he's like a good match for his co-stars. But then he just completely turned his back on romantic comedies. He's just like, no more. I'm a serious actor now. And then he started doing the Wolf of Wall Street and that type of stuff. And he is a very talented actor. He has range, right? He plays these other roles really well. Like, I'm not trying to knock him on that front, but you would think he would come back every now and then and do like a little rom-dram or something. This is the problem. People think that romantic comedies are just stepping stones and it's unserious. And I mean, if we're being real, a lot of those romantic comedies were kind of unserious. You know, that's the whole point. And like, we like the genre because it's not too heavy, it's lighthearted. But I have to say, I used to love How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, and I rewatched that movie a lot, but I haven't watched it of late. That used to be one of my favorite movies, but then I watched it a few more times, and I was like, this movie is kind of ridiculous. I like the hijinks, you know. I especially loved when she's trying, like, you know, she's switching it up on him, and he's like, what is happening, you know? And she's like over at his house and rearranging things and putting her toiletries in his cabinet, and like, it's fun. That's why I love romantic comedies. I love the fun and games section of it. And that's actually like a screenwriting term. When you're making films, you want to have the promise of the premise. You want to kind of do the fun parts that are exploring or exploiting the premise of the movie. I think you can grow it. Like, there's not much substance there in the film. And so I like more grounded romantic comedies myself. And I should introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. My name is Camille Hugh, and I am a writer and a filmmaker who makes grounded romantic comedies about Black women getting their happily ever afters that everyone can enjoy. So I like, I guess, what you would call a genre rom-dram, but no one says that. You know, it's like a romantic dramedy. I'm gonna have to start. I'm gonna start the movement and just like put it out there. So I make romantic dramedies more so than romantic comedies. When you think of romantic comedies, you think of like the fluff stuff. But yeah, it seems like he thought romantic comedies were, I don't know, I guess not challenging enough or too unserious. Like, they weren't going to win him any awards, any Oscars or Golden Globes, any of that stuff, you know? The romantic comedies never get nominated for that. I think Crazy Rich Asians was maybe one of the few films that was able to break into, you know, like, being recognized with awards and things like that. And that was a good romantic, I would say it's a romantic dramedy or like a romance comedy. You know, Aquafina was like, she was carrying the comedic part of that entire movie. I don't know if there were any other jokes in that film besides coming from Aquafina and her family. But yeah, I don't even know if Matthew, because I haven't really followed his career that closely, but I did look at his IMDb and there are no romantic comedies in works. It would be cool if he were to do something kind of like, you know, Meryl Streep did It's Complicated. You know, that's like it's a fun romantic comedy vibe, but like adult, grown up romantic comedy, if that makes sense. So you would think that if he's older, it would be cool for him to do something like that, but maybe it has something to do with him being married and having kids and not wanting to, I guess, like be kissing up on a woman, or I don't really know why. It really seems to me like he just doesn't think the genre is respectable or something like that. But in his heyday, he was a really great romantic comedy lead because I think in part he just has like the it factor. He's like brings that charm to the role. He seems like a good guy. I think that also has a role to play in it because some people are just very likable and seem like good people, and then other people, yeah, they could play romantic leads, but then they just don't, like as an actor, seem like someone you would actually really like or get along with or who are nice. And I think that factors into the equation as well. But he seems like a really chill guy, like easy to love, you know? And I think a good rom-com lead has to be easy to love because you have to fall in love with them in the span of an hour and a half to 2 hours. So you have to be likable. And that also, again, stems from the character, like what's written on the page. You know, if he's just, because there were some problems with the wedding planner. Like, let's be real, right? He was like flirting with his wedding planner when he was supposed to be getting married. So that wasn't too great. But he still kind of was rooting for him. You know, it's that whole saying, don't let your husband or boyfriend stand in the way of your husband type of vibe. But yeah, so that was the result of the poll. And I think the modern rom-com leads that we're getting, like we don't get, first of all, releases in the theaters besides Anyone But You. And Glenn Powell, like, I know some people find him really attractive, but I don't know. He's not a rom-com leading man, in my opinion. Not to say that they all have to be suave and, you know, I don't know. It's just something about Glenn Powell that doesn't, like, I wasn't falling in love with him when I watched that movie. And again, maybe it's something to do with in the movie, he was, you know, it was the trope of they hate each other and then they fall in love with each other. And I don't enjoy that trope as much. You guys hate each other and you're rude to each other and you're, you know, tearing each other down, and then somehow you're falling in love with the person in the process, which is a little dicey to me. I personally, I don't like the struggle love, toxic love type of thing, so it doesn't appeal to me. But there's a prestige to falling in love on a 40-foot screen that Netflix hasn't really replicated, right? It just hits different. It hits different. It's easier, I guess, to fall in love with him versus on your little TV. And although that didn't stop me from falling madly in love with Nicholas Galitzine in The Idea of You, because that was released on streaming, and plenty of women echo my sentiment. But besides, like, not getting romantic comedies, not getting theatrical releases nowadays, like the ones that we do get, they just feel so lackluster. And I think it's down to the casting of the leading men are not like they don't have the je ne sais quoi. Maybe it's the script. It's just like nothing that it's like a timeless love story, right? Or that you just like so fun and you just want to watch it again just so you can see them falling in love and root for them and kick your feet and giggle and swoon and that type of thing. Like, I don't know, it's just so rare now to find that stuff, which is why I'm making the movies that I'm making, because partly just wish fulfillment. It's just like I want to see these things and I don't see them, so I'm gonna make them. But I think there's that, and then they're casting influencers or people with followers, and TikTok followers doesn't like translate or automatically mean that people will have the it factor that's necessary to really like sell a film, to make the film really, really good, and for you to get into it and believe it and root for the characters. And especially since I don't think that you have to have official training or anything. It's just like you can't be wooden on camera, or you have to be able to let like the personality shine through for the characters, to have some quirks, infuse, like make some choices, you know. So it's not a given, but these studios, they want to cast people with followers because they're like, oh, followers translates to viewers. Their followers will watch this movie, which translates to dollars in our pockets. So I totally get it. I get why you want to cast someone who has a following, but on the other hand, they need to have the it factor. And I just can't think of any modern actors leading men in rom-coms who have it. Even when I watch like the streaming films, I'm just like, that's an interesting choice. But I think we need fresh meat though, right? Like, I think even this applies to Black actors. I feel like it's just the same actors that we're casting over and over and over again. I think I saw they were trying to do the reboot for Love Jones or something like that. I'm just like, with the same actors? Not that they shouldn't be able to get work, but it's just, I want to see new faces. I want to see fresh meat. And they also need to have the it factor. And it's harder to come by than you think. Like when I do my casting and I watch so many auditions, and it's just rare that you come across someone you're like, yes, that person, like, it's just, they're making all right decisions, they're making you smile, they're making you laugh while you're watching their audition. They're doing like they have these quirks, they're infusing their own personality into the character, they're making it interesting to watch. You want to just keep watching them, you know. It's like they're seducing you like through the camera. That's not an easy feat, because a lot of people tend to play it the same, you know. They don't, and not to say like you're just going to be contrarian just because it's to stand out, but it's just I don't know, it takes something, maybe it's doing the homework, maybe it's just them, just how they interpret things, and they just bring something, like a spark to the character that not everyone does. Like, I'm telling you, the majority of the people will play it the same, or it's just not convincing. But very rarely do you have people that they nail it. They just bring their own charm to it. It's factor. It's completely real. You just can't stop watching them. So that's what I want. I want us to find the new crop of actors, because there are tons of actors out there, I'm sure they exist, who we can watch and give them opportunities. But I would like to see Matthew in a rom-com, like he returned to his roots. I bet you it would be a big deal. I bet you would get a theatrical release. Hell, he's really good. I wonder if he'll ever come back. I wonder if he'll like make like a grown-up rom-com. Maybe him and Jennifer Garner. Maybe, I mean, J-Lo, she's like, we have to do the women next. Like, who is the rom-com queen? And it would be J-Lo. Who else has been in the time? Maybe Kate Hudson. And who else? Trying to think. Who would you say for the classic rom-com female lead? That's a good question. I'll throw up a poll on it, but put your nominees in the comments below, and then we'll do a poll and see who wins that one. It'd be interesting to see. This feels like none of the big stars are really doing romantic comedies anymore. Like, it has to be someone who's done like a few of them. And whenever I think of like the older movies, you know, like Julia Roberts or something. She hasn't done, I don't think. Or maybe she was in that movie recently. She was, I think, with George Clooney, right? Weren't they playing parents for the kid's wedding, and they were like divorced couple. So even she is still doing rom-coms, but I didn't watch that movie. I don't think. Just didn't appeal to me. I think it will probably be the queen of rom-coms. It's probably going to be J-Lo, but I'll be interested to hear your take. Yeah, so I just wanted to come and chat a bit about rom-com leads and give you the results of the poll. Matthew McConaughey won, and he was, I guess, just the sheer amount of rom-coms he was in. And like I said, wasn't really that many, but he was in some very big classic ones. And like Hugh Grant was also in a few of them, and I love Hugh Grant. I just love the English accent, and I love the kind of shy, endearing character, like the very easy. I like shy guys, but I like guys that are not like have too much bravado or something. And Hugh Grant he's like the quintessential shy, stuttering Brit kind of guy, besides the music and lyrics one. But even then, he was still like, even though he was like a singer who had aged out or something, and he was working with Drew Barrymore, and then like he still wasn't like cocky. Or maybe he was cocky. I'm just misremembering, but I guess that's your personal taste as well. It's like what type of guy you like. But and then I had Taye Diggs on there, and he was in a lot of rom-coms too, like more probably well known in the Black community because he was in Brown Sugar, which I like that movie. The like friends to lovers trope, and he was in The Best Man, How Stella Got Her Groove Back, and I really loved him in How Stella Got Her Groove Back. But he was kind of charming and young and innocent, even though he looked like he was 40 in that film. But he was cute, you know? And you're rooting for Stella to get her groove back and for it to work out. And he wasn't completely perfect. You don't want a leading man that's just too perfect. They have to have some kind of flaws as well. Like, we're human. We all have flaws. Like Matthew, not that he was out of shape or anything, but he just wasn't like he didn't look like he spent 10 hours a day in the gym, you know, or like he's getting Botox, you know, and he has regular Botox appointments. He's not overly done. Obviously, this is in his younger days, but he wasn't like too muscular, not too buff, no dehydrated for 3 days, body, no plastic surgery face, not like too perfectly handsome. I think there are men who are leading men who are just like too, and that maybe this doesn't appeal to me. Like I don't like when they're too perfect. They just look too perfect, you know. It's like something, because maybe it's like a guy who looks too perfect. They just tend to be cocky. They know that they can get like any woman, or like it's easy for them to get women, and they tend to, I don't know, they don't necessarily feel naturally sweet or shy, or maybe they're too into their looks. But yeah, he has that like very natural, rugged, handsome, like manly, masculine look. You know, like he could fix something. I always tell my husband when he's fixing stuff in the house, he looks extra sexy. And it's true. Like I look over at him and I always take pictures and video of him secretly, like on the sly when he's fixing stuff. And I'm like, ooh, you look so hot right now. So sexy. And I just take a video or a picture of him while he's working away, you know, sawing stuff and fixing things and unscrewing things. And I'm like, sexiest you've ever looked, babe. So he looks like that kind of guy who can fix things that break, you know. It is very, very attractive. But he also doesn't look like he takes himself too seriously, because he's always has like that sly grin on his face and kind of like the boyish charm. You want like the mixture of both. At least I do, and maybe you all who voted for him. Like obviously we all have our different tastes, but I think that's the appeal. I think that's why you all voted for him. Matthew, we miss you. We miss you in the rom-coms. Yeah, that's it for me. Thanks again for watching. And the comments are my favorite part of making videos. So tell me, who your favorite rom-com leading man is and why. And it's like, if there are any new people out there that I'm not aware of that you want to put me on to, go ahead, like leave it in the comments below. If you like this video, don't forget to like and to subscribe. Thank you so much for all of the new subscribers. I finally over 1,000 subscribers, and it's so exciting to have you all here with me to talk about romantic comedies and all the other things that are rattling around in my brain. The stuff I want to talk about as it relates to filmmaking and rom-coms, and like a director's perspective on making these movies that we all love. So happy to have you here in my little corner of the internet, and you make making videos really, really fun. And don't forget, if you want to see my films, head on over to sitandpretty.com/screenings, and that's how you can keep up with my work and watch my movies. And until the next time, bye.